Okay, we are live.
Aha.
Hello, hello. We are warming up a little bit before we start our today's presentation. So we will wait a little bit for more people to join, and we will start in 5 minutes. Hello, James. Now we can go to the beach, right? In Australia, the restrictions are not so strict anymore.
You can if you live near the beach.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So now, as of yes, like from today, you can go 50 kilometers, or from tomorrow we can go 50 kilometers.
Okay.
But up until today, you kind of, if you could walk to the beach, you could go to the beach, but otherwise you weren't allowed. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Locals only.
Locals only. Hi, Bob and Lotta. Before we start, maybe we can share some simple breathing exercises that those who are listening out there can try. Do some, I don't know, breathing exercises just for relaxation and some simple stuff. Amber, you hear me?
Yeah, here. I'm trying to find the video so I can see what people are asking, so I can see the questions.
Okay. I will follow it, so you don't have to.
Yeah, you might have to let me know. I can't find it.
Hello, Yusuf, Kalin, and Simon. So one of the basic exercise you can all try now when we are waiting is just, simple belly breathing. Basically with belly breathing, you start first with totally relaxed shoulders, and then just like gentle inhale with the belly out, and then exhale with the belly in. And then you repeat it a couple of times and try to make your exhale 2 times longer than your inhale. Hello, Frank and Phil and Chris.
Okay, I found it.
Okay.
I'm back in. We're in action. All right.
Yeah, we are live. Hi, Glenn.
Ooh, I should turn that down.
So we have listeners from all over the world, from Tenerife to Washington, from Australia. It's going to be an interesting one. Hi, Chris. Cool. I think we are ready to start. So welcome to our second SSI Freedive Friday. And my name is Samo Jarenko. I'm a professional freediver and SSI instructor trainer, and I'm super happy to have a chance to chat today with Amber Bourke from Australia. Amber is a champion freediver, really like, super good both in pool and depth, and she's also teaching freediving. So we will cover topics from her, let's say, sport background, how she started, her like most exciting freediving adventures. And you are really more than welcome to participate in the conversation with any kind of questions. We will try to, check them and answer them. If some questions will stay unanswered during the stream, we will for sure answer them afterwards in the comment. Amber, how are you? Nice to have you today.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit where you come from, where do you live now, what's your freediving background?
Yeah, so I was born in Brisbane and I'm still living in Brisbane. So I grew up here, Brisbane in Australia. Yeah, I've always been into sport. So as a kid, I was a synchronized swimmer and then got into freediving in my early 20s.
So like you had the transition from like synchronized swimming to freediving. Like during your childhood, did you also do some kind of snorkeling or freediving for fun, or it just, freediving came out from nowhere?
As a kid, like my family always really liked snorkeling. Like every holiday we did was always to the ocean. So my whole family were snorkelers. Even my grandmother was still snorkeling up until she was 80. Yeah, so always been big on the water, but have never been able to equalize, especially head down. So I could never duck dive and go underwater, but could always hold my breath. We did a lot of like swimming laps underwater in synchronized swimming. And so I was always quite good at holding my breath. And then when I gave up synchronized swimming, I actually had no intention of finding another sport. Like I was done. I'd been training 6 days a week, sometimes up to 10 hours a day, like massive hours. I was training, I went to the World Championships in 2007, and then I was training for the Olympics, for the 2008 Olympics, and I missed out on the team, and I didn't really feel like committing another 4 years of my life. At that stage, I was 19 and I kind of wanted to get on with my life. And so I gave up the sport. I was like, that's it, I'm done, no more sport. Wasn't even interested in getting back in the water. And then a couple of years later, didn't touch the water for a couple of years. I went backpacking in Egypt and I ended up in Dahab. And then I discovered this crazy sport. And I'd never heard of it before. I had no idea what it was, but I knew it had something to do with holding your breath and being in the water. And I kind of rediscovered my love for snorkeling that I had when I was a little kid. And once you learn how to equalize, it's a whole nother story. There's a whole new world out there that, is ready to be explored.
Amazing. I remember when I was also training swimming for quite some time. It was actually quite the opposite. I wanted to be in the water as much as I can, and I can clearly remember the moment when I first managed to equalize, and suddenly my parents just noticed that I can be underwater for so long, and basically they had absolutely no control over me while I'm diving. So I'm wondering, how was it in your case? Because you said that your whole family was snorkeling. You had kind of a touch with the water. How your family and friends accepted the fact that suddenly you are diving really deep?
Terribly. Yeah. No, my parents did not like freediving at all. Thought it was super dangerous. And to be honest, I didn't even know what it was. So I didn't know what I was getting myself involved in. But over the years, I've never had a serious accident. I've never had an injury. And I think that's the best way that you can prove that compared to a lot of sports, that if if you stick within your limits and if you're smart about things, then it can be relatively safe.
Yeah, I totally agree. Tell us a little bit about your records, the disciplines you like, and the freediving disciplines that you do most often these days.
Yeah, so I mostly do no fins, partly because as a synchronized swimmer, that's how we always swam underwater. It was the exact same stroke. Never had like much technique training with it, but it's just so comfortable for me. It's just how I'm used to swimming underwater. And then when I started doing the depth diving, equalization has always been a problem for me. First, like learning how to do frenzel and then learning mouth fill. And so no fins is also the shallowest discipline. So if you want to be competitive and you can't equalize, then it just makes sense to stick with no fins. So that's what I've been doing recently, but I do really hope to improve in the other disciplines and definitely improve my equalization. Monofinning is probably my least favorite. I don't know. I'm just not much of a dolphin kicker, but yeah, I'd like to get better at it.
Cool. But you started as a super strong pool diver. I remember back in 2013 when I first met you in Belgrade World Championship. You kind of, showed up from nowhere, and you were already like swimming more than world record. I mean, at the same time, also other athletes progress, but it was really impressive to see someone like relatively new to the sport just pushing it to a completely new level.
Yeah, I think it really helps when you get into the sport with no expectations of what a big swim actually is. Like I did my level 1 course with no other students. I'd never seen people do dynamics before. And so the first dynamic I ever attempted was 120 meters. It wasn't successful. But I never had that limit in my head of, oh, okay, this is a really big, like this is a world record. You shouldn't be capable of this. So I just started swimming long distances and I had no intention of ever competing. But then when I realized that these records were distances that I had been doing in training, it was just too tempting. so that's how I ended up competing and ended up going to the World Championships in Belgrade in 2013. Also, in Brisbane in Australia, we don't have any depth diving, or anywhere in Australia really. We don't have deep water. So we all do a lot of pool training. It's our only option. So if you're a really keen freediver, you just end up doing a ton of pool training here.
Yes, but you still like you manage like to do this step from strong pool diver also to strong depth diver. It is not something that many people do or did in the freediving community. So it's pretty impressive to see doing dives also in the sea super close or even like to the world record limit. How did you manage to do this let's say step from the pool to the depth? And where did you train for that? Because you said that in Australia I don't have a chance to dive deep, or it's not really like simple to do it.
Yeah, it's funny, for outsiders it always looks like something's happened really quickly when in fact it's been like years and years in the making. So in the beginning I did the same thing everyone does. Like I spent a week doing deep training, and like a week a year, and then the next year I did 2 weeks, and then the year after that I did 4 weeks. And then I think when I started getting really good is the first time I did like 5 or 6 weeks solid depth training, and that got me to like a 50-meter no fins dive. And everyone thought I'd like solved my equalization issues. They're like, oh, what secret can you tell us? I'm like, you spend 6 weeks diving nonstop. You'll get to 50 meters, hopefully. But yeah, it's just it's the same as everyone says. It's just time in the water, and you just have to commit to that time. I realized to get to the world record, that was the next level. So I took a year off work to train for that world record, and I just trained for it nonstop for a year, and mostly just no fins. It's all down to like the little details. Like you have to have everything perfected in that dive. Like you can't leave anything to chance. You have to know exactly when you're doing what, when you're starting a free fall, when you're doing your mouth fill. It has to be, yeah, it's like perfect.
Yeah, definitely. Like whenever we push the limits, it's always about some little details that when you are, you know, planning or analyzing things just through the, I don't know, analyzing videos or training in the pool, you can never imagine how things will go in reality. But you mentioned that to overcome or to improve your equalization, it was like one of the most important things was to be like 6 weeks constantly diving. Did you figure it out in this 6-week period that it's something related with the technique, with relaxation, or things just came naturally during the time of these 6 weeks of constant training?
I think you just figure out little things that make a big difference. So for years, I was like struggling to get past 50 meters. That was my barrier. And then just working on the really tiny things, like taking your mouth fill earlier, taking a bigger mouth fill. Like even if you think your mouth is really good and then you find one small way you can improve it, and then you can get another 5 or 10 meters. And the more you spend in the water, the more you find ways of improving it, and just like building up flexibility. If you haven't dived in a year, like it's so hard to have that flexibility to equalize deep. It's impossible. So yeah, the more weeks, yeah, the more it helps. I'm still struggling. Now I can't get past 70 meters. So I overcame that 50-meter barrier, and now I'm stuck at this like 70-meter barrier. So still figuring that one out.
Okay, but you like there was like a progress and you know, equalization wise, performance wise. On which locations did you train? Did you go to somewhere in Europe, or you went to Asia? Which is like your favorite spot in to train freediving?
Mostly Southeast Asia, because I'm in Australia, so that's just the most accessible for us, and it's really affordable. So in the beginning, Bali was definitely my favorite. That's where we have our Australian nationals. It's just a great environment, great people there, great food, it's cheap. But once you start diving a bit deeper, getting deep water gets a bit trickier. So now I've started going to the Philippines, to Panglao, and it's just perfect, like perfect diving conditions, still good food, good coffee, so all the important things.
Yeah, it seems like Panglao is getting one of the most popular free diving spots in the world right now.
Every year it's crazy, more and more freedivers.
Okay. You were also there when you were training for your world record attempt. I think it was last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
2018. Yes.
Yeah. I hadn't actually like I'd been training towards the world record, but at that point I'd kind of given up on it, and I was just training in Panglao, and I just wanted to see how deep I could go. And I just been talking to John, one of the judges over there, and yeah, we just decided to organize a world record kind of spontaneously. And I hadn't done the depth in training, but it's really hard because you have to give a certain amount of notice to AIDA. Can't remember how much. Is it 6 weeks or something, or 8 weeks notice? So it's quite a lot. So I only had like 8 weeks left of training. I'm like, will I be there in 8 weeks time or not? And it was my last chance. I'm like, what the hell? We'll organize it and I'll hope for the best. And I got very close. I did 71 in training, so it's 2 meters short. But yeah, just equalization issues really caused me a lot of dramas.
But what about, let's say you you, of course, when you train for a like world record dive, everything, as you said, everything needs to be perfect, and you are figuring out, you know, small details in your technique, in your diving style, in your equipment, also the environment. But I assume there is also like a lot of things happening in your mind, your thoughts, planning everything so much in advance and training. What was like the main lesson that you learned from your world record attempts and training for these incredible numbers, besides, of course, progressing in equalization and
Yeah.
diving itself?
Yeah, I learned so much from it. I learned you really have to not put quite so much pressure on yourself. I learned it makes it so hard to succeed when you put that much pressure on yourself, when you tell yourself that this is your last chance. You've put this much financial investment and time investment. You're just making it so much harder on yourself. So I learned that I have to find some way to remove that pressure. Maybe that is organizing a second attempt sometime in the future, or knowing that there's going to be another attempt. Yeah, also, I think having more than one attempt is really important. So this is the same problem I have with world championships, is we only get one attempt at each dive, and it's just so much pressure to make that one dive. And yeah, it's some way to remove that pressure. So for me, I decided I had planned to compete at Vertical Blue this year. So that was my way of removing the pressure of only having one attempt at a dive. So at Vertical Blue, you get like 6 attempts. So you have many attempts, so there's less pressure to make that one dive. The world record, you know, you think you're prepared for it, but because I hadn't been hitting the depth, when I hit that 73 meters, I wasn't prepared for the feeling of, you know, grabbing a world record tag. And I was not mentally prepared for that. And then the whole swim up, instead of like staying in the zone, staying cool and calm, I was just like celebrating. And you can't celebrate halfway through a dive. Like, you have to still get back to the surface and finish the dive. So unfortunately, I got to the surface, but I didn't finish the dive. So you have to keep that focus, and in the future, I'm going to prepare for that feeling of grabbing that world record tag.
So mental strength is definitely one of the, you know, key things.
Yeah, and planning for like any possibility, like you do a lot of visualization, but you don't often visualize like all the possible scenarios. I think it's so important to visualize every single scenario so you're prepared for any eventuality.
Do you think the mental aspect of freediving and the pressure you experience on record attempts or competitions, world championship, is different than the one you have experienced while participating competition in synchronized swimming?
That's a tough question, actually, and something I haven't thought about much before. I think, like, for me in synchronized swimming, because I was competing as part of a team, the main pressure on me, I always was stressed about letting down my teammates. And I think a lot of that was because I was one of the like weaker members on the team. I was one of the younger, less experienced members. So for me, that was a huge amount of pressure. Whereas in freediving, I've never competed in a freediving team. So it's mostly about letting myself down, which isn't quite as much pressure, actually. It's not quite as stressful.
Okay. Do you have some, let's say, daily routine related to freediving? You know, something that you do every day, like, I don't know, maybe stretching, breathing, maybe some food you eat. So anything that would be part of your daily routine, just to boost your freediving performance.
When I'm training, I do stick quite strictly to a routine. I always make sure I have the same breakfast. Like, I have usually like oats or a banana, or or like probably seems weird, but sometimes a banana smoothie. I don't know if there's many freedivers scuffing down a banana smoothie before they dive, but I think I did that before my world record attempt. And then, so like when you're training, it's the same. You do the same thing every day. You eat the same food. You train. You have your coffee. I do like a gym training in the afternoon. When I was training for the world record, I was visualizing religiously every single day, like visualizing the dive from start to finish. At the moment, my routine's a little more relaxed. I still like exercise and probably have my coffee in the mornings, but that's about it for the routine.
Okay, so now when we well, like I believe you at least try to, you know, train or exercise now when we have to be at home. You have some tips for other freedivers who are listening how to stay in shape, you know, during this time when you are waiting to jump back in the water.
It's so hard. I think if you can get outside, it's so important to get outside as much as you can. Here, we're allowed outside to exercise, so that's really great. So I try to always get outside for a walk or a bike ride. Like I think looking after your mental health is probably more important than looking after your physical health at the moment. I think we can't be too harsh on ourselves. It's such a, you know, it's just such a strange situation that we're living through. So I think we have to be kind to ourselves. And I think one thing that freediving has taught me is, you know, how to live in the moment and not worry too much about what tomorrow might bring. Just, yeah, looking after my mental health, getting outside, staying, yeah, in reasonably physical shape, like, yeah, getting out for a walk or a bike ride every day. I do like online workouts. We have a little balcony, so we take turns like doing our online workouts on the balcony. I actually posted this week, my sister-in-law that I live with has made us some weights out of like cheap dry bags, and she's filled them with sand, so we have all these different like sized weights that we use for our gym workouts. So that's really great.
Cool. Yeah, before this you know, the COVID situation happened, you were in Panglao, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I chose I've worked in the same job for 10 years, almost full stop, except when I took time off to train for my world record. So 10 years I've done this job, and then in February I decided that it was time to quit my secure job to become a full-time freediver. It's like world's worst timing. So I spent 3 weeks in my my new full-time freediving role, which was fantastic. It was a great 3 weeks, and then COVID hit, and now I'm back home. So unfortunately, like we trained as long as we could in the Philippines, but it was becoming quite obvious that eventually we weren't going to be able to train. And in the Philippines, I just have, like, if we can't train, I didn't see much point being there. There's no way for me to make money there. So I made the decision pretty early to come back to Brisbane and try to like at least I can train a little bit here and make some money, hopefully.
But you also teach freediving, or your main goal was to be a professional athlete?
Yeah, I do teach a bit. I don't teach a lot, but I've started doing courses here and there. I do like the occasional instructor course. I do the occasional, like I fill in occasionally for the local dive shops if they need someone. So just enough to keep me current. And I've also, like, I picked up a couple of interesting jobs earlier this year, like being like a stunt double in a documentary. So yeah, just little things like that.
So main focus, let's say, competition part of freediving, and then teaching and doing things.
Yeah, but like primarily I wanted to train as an athlete for as long as I could and see how far I could get with that, and then just make it up as I went along, really see how it went, and then get another job if I had to.
Yeah, I think I think nowadays among girls, it's really, I mean, it's nice to see that how many are basically like professional athletes. If I look on the among boys, there is a lot of professional freedivers, but most of them are all doing teaching or running freediving clubs, freediving centers, doing something with the equipment, while the girls are so focused, so dedicated. Like it's incredible. And also nowadays, when we observe the progress in freediving, what girls did in the last 3-4 years is just incredible. And if you are motivated for pushing performance freediving part, further and further, that's definitely the key ingredient, I think, for success. And for sure, this situation will end up soon, and the competition will be back, and we will have chance to train. I guess everyone was a bit disappointed because all the events are canceled or postponed, and we are all waiting and are super excited to see what the next steps. What the next steps?
Kind of in limbo at the moment.
So when you teach freediving, you said that you are like working hard to improve your equalization. How do you, let's say, work with students who are new to freediving and they are facing similar difficulties, barriers, challenges, so not be able to dive head first, so they have to dive feet first? How do you guide them to go from one position to another position?
And one thing I always try to do is get people doing Frenzel as soon as possible. I think it's so important to learn this technique. And for so many people, like I know so many people who can't bounce out upside down, including myself. I don't know why, it doesn't make sense, but Frenzel seems to really fix this, and it seems to fix so many issues. So yeah, just getting on top of that as soon as possible, I think is really important. It's really hard here because we have quite a difficult learning environment. Like it's not like the Bali or the Philippines. Like we have big swell. It's cold in winter. Like some days are beautiful and we have incredible wildlife, but it's not the most relaxing environment for students. And relaxation makes such a big difference. So you notice on a good day, we have so many people without equalization issues, and on a really wild, rough day, it can be really tough. So yeah, I've learned to take really, really small steps to really help that relaxation. So just like starting with just facial immersion, just to relax with the face in the water, and then like just doing duck dives and just like baby steps, so they remain as comfortable as possible the whole time. So you're trying to never go outside your comfort zone. You're just trying to always be super, super relaxed and comfortable in the water as much as possible. And yeah, it seems to help.
Do you also practice with them some dry land exercises for Frenzel, or you do everything in the water?
Yeah, no, I try to even in the pool, the dry first, like breathing, Frenzel, and then practicing in the pool. And then I like if I'm worried someone's gonna have trouble, I might tell them like, look up how to Frenzel. Like read up on how to Frenzel tonight, practice before we go diving tomorrow. I used to send everyone to like the Frenzel Fatah document because that's how I learned when I did my level 1 course. But like everyone learns differently, and that was helpful for me. But yeah, people learn different ways.
Yeah, everyone has needs a different, maybe modified or different approach. But definitely, like relaxation is for sure. I would say the key ingredient for pleasant diving experience. How do you see like the future of freediving, both like sports wise and business wise?
I have massive massive ambitions for the future of freediving. I think it has so much potential, and I think we really need to show the world how much potential it has. I think it's so visually spectacular, and some people disagree with me here. I know a lot of people like think it's boring to watch, but I completely disagree. I think with like the right filming, the right camera angles, the right commentary, think it can be on TV. I think it can be, used in ads or movies. I think it's just beautiful to watch. And I think it has a lot of potential. And I think we're starting to see that in social media. Like social media accounts about freediving are just, so popular, millions of followers. And I think it's only a matter of time till we start seeing it like on TV, on the big screen, seeing more and more of it, hopefully.
What about the sports part of freediving? What do you
Yeah,
think?
well, I'd like to see our world championships as big as the, whatever other extreme sports world championships there are. Televised live, like the Winter Olympics. I think it could be like that. I see no reason why it shouldn't be.
Yeah, definitely. And now when the live stream is getting better and better, I think we are not so
Exactly.
far away from that.
Yeah.
What kind of depths you think we can reach in the future?
I have no idea. Yeah, we are constantly proving that the impossible is possible. And I never would have thought people would be going past 300 meters in the pool. Like that's just insane. I think it's really hard. The longer you're in the sport, to keep an open mind about what is possible. I think that's the biggest challenge for people who've been in the sport for a long time. Is you have to be so open-minded of what you're capable of and what freedivers are capable of, because otherwise we're going to limit ourselves, and the people who are new to the sport and who don't have these limits in their mind, they're just gonna overtake. So we have to think, we might, who knows what we're capable of. We need to just see.
Yeah, and stay open-minded to everything
Yeah.
related to that. We have a question regarding the decompression sickness. Do you have any experience with that? Narcosis, decompression sickness?
No, I don't actually. I've never been knocked. I've never had decompression sickness. But I probably haven't. Probably haven't pushed close enough to it. Like I don't do repetitive deep dives. If I want to like push myself really hard in training, I do it in the pool. I'm really careful not to do it in the ocean. So if I'm going to do multiple dives in the ocean, I'll do shallow dives. If I'm doing deep dives, I'll only do one. So maybe I'm erring on the side of caution, but decompression sickness is something I'd like to avoid.
Did you
But I'm not sure.
did you have a chance to talk about it with maybe some other girls? Do you have some ideas or experiences from others who?
No, I really, I don't actually, unfortunately, because I'd like to really, know more about it. I think we know so little about decompression sickness in freediving. It's really surprising because in scuba diving, they seem to have, such a strict, like, yes, you can do this, no, you can't do this. And their computers tell them if they're going to get decompression sickness. Whereas we don't really have that. We don't have a computer telling us, no, you can't do another dive. But like, I don't know if we ever will, because I suppose you'd need a lot of people to get sick to understand that.
I also think there is at least in freediving, it's a really tiny barrier between decompression sickness and air embolism, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say what is happening unless you have a chance to really study it, each case as soon as it happens. And unfortunately, it's not happening. But yeah, like honestly, I haven't experienced it yet, and I hope I will never. But I've helped other freedivers who were not able to walk after the dive. So it's definitely requires some attention, especially when you start diving deeper than 70 meters, or in spearfishing. Once you start pushing it below 30 meters, you have to be careful about decompression sickness.
Yeah, I also wonder, if packing has any impact also, because I have heard of, people who've experienced this who put it down to maybe packing more than normal. And I don't normally pack with my dives. So yeah, I wonder if that has some impacts. Would be good to know.
Definitely. To be let's say a professional in freediving industry, so to be able to teach and so on, do you think it requires some special, fitness requirements for girls? That's a question we got.
To get started, not so much, and it's such a different type of fitness, freediving. Because I'm terrible at cardio. I always have been. I can't run to save my life. I don't know why. I'm just really, really bad at it. And for some reason, I can hold my breath for a really long time. So I don't know why that is. And yet some freedivers are super, super fit, and they're also super good at holding their breath. So there's obviously no connection there. I don't think, you have to be able to swim. I think you just have to be able to be fit enough to get yourself out of any not so nice situations. Like if the boat leaves you behind.
I mean, there are some fundamental fitness requirements, like diving to 30 meters and repeating it. It also depends on what level of instructors you want to be, but to start with a dive to a 30 meters is something that all the instructors basically should be capable of doing. What is your favorite freediving spot? Now we have covered a lot of things related to performance freediving, records, equalizations, and a lot of technical things. But I still believe that freediving for fun and freediving adventures are also super exciting for our listeners, for myself, and I think also that you have some special things that happened to you. Can you share?
Yeah. Well, that's I think for a lot of people, that's the main reason we freedive. It's to see what's out there and to dive with whatever we can dive with. And I'm super lucky here in Brisbane. We have a dive site at Bourke Island. There's a dive shop over there, Mantle Lodge, and so it's not super deep. It's not your typical freediving location. It's not dead flat water, 100 meters deep. But we have the most incredible wildlife, like sharks, grey nurse sharks, manta rays, turtles. In winter, we get the humpback whales coming through. And sometimes when we're training on the buoys, they'll come straight underneath us. It's just, and you can hear them constantly while you're training, singing underwater. We have dolphins come by occasionally. It's really awesome. It's really cool. We're very lucky.
Oh, this must be amazing. I'm dreaming.
Except you just have to deal with massive swell and sharks.
Beside Australia, do you have some other favorite spot, not related to performance freediving, but to enjoy the wildlife?
Last year I went to Sri Lanka for the first time, and that was the most incredible ocean I've seen in my life. It was just as flat as a lake, like the flattest you can possibly imagine, and the bluest you could possibly imagine, and thousands of meters deep, because that's where the blue whales come through. So, and just 100-meter visibility. So just the most unreal ocean you've ever seen, and also really, really incredible wildlife. So pods of hundreds of dolphins and all different types of whales. So yeah, just I never would have imagined before then that Sri Lanka had that. It's just unreal. Yeah.
Do you plan some trips like that also in the future? Do you have a spot you really want to visit?
I do have a few. like Galapagos, like anywhere with wildlife. I'm really attracted to seeing all the different wildlife. Like a couple of places in Indonesia I'd really love to see. Yeah, and so many places. I just wait for the opportunity and and take them when I can.
Do you also have like Maldives on your bucket list?
Yeah, 100%. I love to go to Maldives. Yeah, yeah, and not too far from Australia. Yeah, so I've always been there in the back of the head. One day, one day.
Cool. Have you also ever tried to do the scuba diving?
Yeah, yeah. So I started scuba diving after I started free diving. Actually, I thought it might come in handy. I don't know if it has, but I do scuba dive occasionally. It does come in handy when you can't find a free diving buddy, because you can
Okay.
normally find a scuba school and find someone to scuba dive with if you don't have anyone to free dive with. So in that respect, it's good to have. I did my advanced like a year or two ago. And I think, I try to do 1 or 2 dives a year. I think it's a different experience than free diving, especially for these days, because for me, a lot of free diving is training and trying to always get deeper. And so scuba diving, it's nice to just be underwater and just really experience that and really look around and appreciate it. I went to Vanuatu, I think also last year, and I did an amazing dive in Vanuatu. I couldn't believe it was in a Port Villa, which is like where you like fly into Vanuatu, and right there they have the most incredible reef, like super colorful, really pretty.
So you do scuba diving when you really want to enjoy the reefs and
Yeah,
yeah, nice, nice.
slow
'Cause
down, have a look around,
yeah,
relax.
have time to enjoy the wildlife. Cool. We have a question from Robert. How important are the exercises freedivers do before a dive and why?
I'm terrible at this. And so everyone knows I'm really bad at not stretching and not doing anything before my dive. It's probably not a good thing. I probably need to get into the habit of doing some stretching before I dive, but I don't normally. I'm terrible.
Okay. Yeah, like what free divers also, do before the dive is a lot of stretching. So you basically adjust your body to higher ambiental pressure. You do breathing exercises to calm down your thoughts, to decrease the metabolism. And before you do the dive, normally you do a couple of warm-up dives to trigger the mammalian dive reflex, to get used to the gear, to check if everything is working well. And then, I know, 10 to 15 minutes before the dive, you basically just relax and chill and breathe as gently as possible. So this is kind of a general warm-up routine before the dive. While, yeah, when you start training it more often, when you dive regularly, then you can adjust, and you definitely adjust the training routine to be as short as possible, not to waste time on other things. Because yeah, if you dive every day, then basically you don't need stretching before the dive and relaxation and so on and so on. Cool. We have another question from Natalie. I'm struggling with equalization. I probably start to feel something at 2 meters. I get to 5 and it's quite intense. I think the max was 8 meters, but cannot reach 10 meters. I also notice every time I dive, I blow my nose and blood and mucus comes out. Also spit up blood, and only happens when I'm diving. Do you know why does it happen? And does it happen to a lot of people? Do you know what I'm doing wrong?
It sounds like a sinus infection. Sounds like sinus issues probably. That's something you should probably get checked out. Go to get a doctor to have a look. That's what I first did when I first started having equalization issues. Like honestly, my instructor thought my equalization was so bad that there was something seriously wrong with my ears. I couldn't get past like 3 meters. But but I had my ears checked out and there was nothing wrong with them. But I think, you know, if you've tried a few times, that's definitely probably a good idea to get anything medical ruled out first. Might just need a, you know, some antibiotics, clear that up, and then get out diving again.
Yeah, definitely, because if it's unpleasant and the discomfort does not disappear once you equalize, and if there is mucus and blood, this is something that really requires a medical check. On the long term, of course, after you do the medical check and you know, the doctors can say if everything is okay. I always recommend people, especially those who don't live by the sea, to clean their nose with saline solution 2 times per day. It really helps to clean up the mucus, to make your sinuses more, you know, open, easier to equalize. And it's a really like, it solved so many problems so far. Yeah, some people have also different anatomy. And it requires a little bit more practice to push the air through the eustachian tubes to the middle ear. For instance, I have super small eustachian tubes, but once you perform the correct equalization technique, especially Frenzel one, it's super easy and efficient to push air in your middle ear. So things can be improved. So I definitely suggest Natalie to you know, find a freediving club and consult with the freediving instructor about the freediving techniques, because it will definitely, you know, be a step forward in solving this kind of problems.
Shouldn't be blood.
Yeah, if there is
definitely
blood,
not a good thing.
definitely.
Even if you have small ears.
Okay. If there will be any other questions, we will be more than happy to answer them. I have 2 more questions for you, Amber. The first one, you trained synchro swimming. Now you are a professional freediver. Do you think training sets that were used in synchro swimming or those that you are using now in freediving can benefit both sports? For instance, can freediving sets improve synchro swimming, or can synchro sets also, synchronized swimming sets also improve freediving performance?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think the way we train is very similar, and some of the exercises they're all the same. Swimming laps underwater, like doing over-unders. Over-unders is a massive synchronized swimming drill. It's like a synchronized swimming routine is basically a big Zero 2 table. It's training the same way. Unfortunately, my synchronized swimming experience wasn't super technical with the way we trained. I think it was more like brute force, like more quantity over quality. So I don't know how much I actually learned other than like train many hours a day. But yeah, but the way we train is very similar, and I use a lot of the exercises that I used to do in synchronized swimming in freediving. One of our favorite drills was like a 400-meter set, and then you do, I think it was like 2 laps on the surface freestyle, and then 1 lap underwater, and you do it until you've done 400 meters. Yeah, and then you time yourself, and it's meant to be as fast as possible. And if you come up to breathe on the unders, it was like a 5-second penalty. And this was like one of the like trials we did for the Olympics, and the person with the best time got like the best number of points.
Really?
So this was a really big part of the trials, and something I trained like religiously.
So 50 meters freestyle and 25 no fins.
Yeah, and it was like 12 times. Is that like 300 or 400 meters? I can't remember. Something like that.
Yeah, it's either 300 or 450.
Yeah, but like 50 meters over, 25 meters under, no stopping, like just continuous. Like the freestyle is your rest. But then like people did come up during the swimming unders and they got penalized.
Okay. And the last question, do you have any kind of, let's say, philosophy in your life that you follow and that you might want to share with others that inspire you or might inspire others to be better in what they are doing?
I don't really have like a grand philosophy that I can think of right now.
Okay.
I think it's really important to like set yourself a goal. It really helps with focus, helps you to have something to work towards. And it doesn't matter what that goal is, whether it's like competing at a competition or doing it. Like ideally, it's maybe not a number. Like it's more like like going to some event or just taking part in something to work towards. If you make it a number, then you risk disappointing yourself. But I'm like, yeah, something to work towards, I think, is really important.
Cool. So to have goals and work to achieve them.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we don't have any other questions left. If you will have anything else to ask, please leave us a comment and we will answer it later on. Otherwise, Amber, really thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Samo. It was good to chat.
Yeah, it was really nice to chat with you. It's a bad time for you already in Australia.
Yeah, it is. Friday night.
Friday
go
night.
out partying, except we're all in lockdown. So
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, once again, thanks a lot, and thanks a lot to all the listeners. Next week, stay tuned at the same time at SSI channel for the third Freedive Friday, and you will soon get the information who the guest will be, and I can assure you it will be a super exciting one. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us. Thanks a lot, Amber, and see you again next week. Bye-bye.